Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name's Joey. As you know, we originally had an amazing featherweight fight scheduled for July 17th. We had Max Holloway, the former champion, taking on Yair Rodriguez, who's been looking for a big fight for what seems like ever. And unfortunately, this past week, we just found out Max Holloway's pulling out of the fight. And the UFC's talked about possibly rescheduling the fight, but also there's been talk of him looking for a replacement. Max is a guy that, a lot of people were saying, he really didn't need to take this fight. He had two super close fights with Volkanovski. A lot of people thought he won the second one. I did not personally think he won the second one, but a lot of people did. Then after that, he went out and outclassed Calvin Kattar, which was an amazing performance. He just brutalized. And a lot of people were high on Calvin Kattar, so that was a very, quality win for Max Holloway. So a lot of people thought, no matter what happens in the Brian Ortega versus Volkanovski fight, that Max would be next. I don't know if the UFC would have gave it to him if Volkanovski won. Maybe they would have. But if Ryan Ortega would have won, or does win, they would have definitely gave him that fight, especially considering Max has fought him before and absolutely brutalized him, just a couple years back. But anyway, the point I'm getting to is Yair now needs an opponent, or he has to potentially sit out and wait for Max. And if Max is only going to be out a couple weeks, maybe he has a cut, because we don't know what the injury is yet. If he just has a cut or something and he only needs a couple weeks to heal or a month to heal, okay, if I'm Yair, I sit and wait for that Max Holloway fight, because there is not a bigger fight in the featherweight division other than for the title that Yair Rodriguez can get other than Max Holloway, which, I mean, he's number 3 ranked right now. He has that great win over Chan Sung Jung in 2018, that upward elbow in a fight that he was losing. But I don't know if he should wait, unless it's going to be that short time frame, because the title is probably being defended in September. Yair has already been out since October of 2019, so he's working on being out for 2 years this October, so he's already been out for like a year and a half. And before that, his last fight, and I know somebody's probably going to try to correct me, was really Chan Sung Jung in November of 2018, because that fight before that, that Jeremy Stephens fight that was a no contest, only lasted 10 seconds. Yair eye poked him, then the fight was over. So that fight doesn't really count. So Jeremy Stephens, not Jeremy Stephens, I'm talking about the Jeremy Stephens fight with Yair. So Yair Rodriguez really finds himself in a very similar situation to Leon Edwards, because, and what I mean by that is Leon Edwards he sat out for no fault of his own. He had the fight with Woodley, but then he had the fight with Hamzat. Then he had the fight with Hamzat again and again. And finally, when the third fight got canceled, and even before that, he was asking for this, he said, just give me anybody. He was already a top-ranked guy. I don't remember what Leon was ranked at the time, but somewhere in the top 3. And he just said, give me anybody. And he took the Bilal Muhammad fight. And it really didn't make any sense, but he was basically thinking in his mind, I've already been out this long. I just need to get a fight. And he took the Bilal Muhammad fight. Obviously, we know how that ended in a little bit of controversy, too. Leon has the worst luck ever. But Yair could find himself in a situation like that where, okay, I've already been sitting out since October of 2019. How much longer do I want to sit out? They tried to make the Zabit Magomed Sharipov fight forever, and it just one thing or another happening. I think it was supposed to happen last October or September, somewhere around there. It just didn't come to fruition for whatever reason. Injuries from both guys, sicknesses from both guys, whatever it was. So I don't know if Yair should really sit around and wait, especially if Max is going to be out any longer than a month. So anyway, what I'm getting to is there's one guy who has came out and been an advocate trying to step in for Max Holloway and fight Yair Rodriguez in July, and that's Giga Chikadze. And I hope this fight happens. I think it makes a lot of sense, as far as, Yair, how long is he going to really sit out and wait? He needs a fight. And there's not a lot of guys that are going to say, you know what, I'll take Yair Rodriguez on 1 month's notice. There's not a lot of guys going to be offering up. And Giga Chikadze is a guy that has a lot of hype around him, regardless of what his ranking is. I don't even know if I don't think he's in the top 10. Let me just double check for you real quick. Let's see. Yeah, he's just barely in the top 10. He's number 10. But there's not going to be a lot of guys really raising their hand to fight Yair Rodriguez on a month's notice, literally less than a month's notice. And I think Yair should take the fight. I think it's a fight that is very fan-friendly. I would be very interested to see it. And it's also kind of one of those fights in a way. It's a little bit different. Giga does have that quality win over Cub Swanson, but Cub Swanson's far past his prime at this point. But still a quality win. But he just doesn't have that signature win or two against elite guys to really know how good he is. He's looked amazing, but again, look at the quality of competition he's been fighting. It hasn't been the best competition. And if he can get a win over a guy like Yair Rodriguez, that would propel Giga to, top 5 ranking. Without a doubt, he would snatch up at one of their top 5 spots, I would think. And it would be a very fan-friendly fight. I mean, Yair's kicks are just something to behold. Giga has the Giga kick. He finished Cub Swanson with it. There's just been a lot of talk about this guy and a lot of hype around him. And I would be excited to see him get that almost what we were supposed to get in Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards. A guy that we know is a quality guy versus a guy who's looked amazing, but he's relatively unknown at this point, And I think this fight would make a lot of sense, to answer some questions for both guys. I've talked about it on my channel many times. I love fights that answer questions. And this is a fight that would answer a lot of questions about both guys. Giga came out. I'm actually going to play a clip for you at the end of this video. Giga came out and said, he doesn't think Yair is going to take the fight, that he's accepted the fight from the UFC, at least Giga has on his end. But he doesn't know if it's going to come to fruition. I really hope it does. And also, you can't really blame Yair if he wants to sit out, because not that I think he should or it should reward guys, but if you look at it kind of has rewarded him a little bit. He hasn't had, his best win is against Chan Sung Jung in 2018. And that was a fluky ass win. Regardless of what anyone would say, I was super impressed with the KO. I loved that fight, but it was a fluky win. And then he beat Jeremy Stephens, who's a decent guy. He's not, I feel like Chan Sung Jung is much higher quality, and especially after this most recent fight against Dan Ige. But Yair's kind of sat out for a while, and he still finds himself in the Max Holloway fight, which is the best fight he can get other than the title. If Yair went out there, and I said this in my video when I talked about the fight announcement, if Yair could go out there and finish Max Holloway, 100% getting the next title shot. Now, if he goes out there and finishes Giga Chikaze, I don't know if it's going to be the same. The UFC might say, okay, well, now you can fight Max Holloway. So Yair kind of finds himself in a tricky situation, and it just goes to show you that, sometimes fighters are rewarded for sitting out. If you look at, even Leon Edwards, not really his fault he gets the Nate Diaz fight. That's a little bit different. But if you look at Tyron Woodley from years ago, Johnny Hendricks couldn't make it to the fight. So Woodley said, you know what? He couldn't make it to the fight, so I won. So I'm going to sit out and wait for Robbie Lawler. And he sat out from, I think it was like October, September area to end of July of the following year to fight Robbie Lawler. And the UFC gave him the title shot. So maybe Yair says, you know what? Opponents keep falling out. I want the next shot. And maybe the UFC does that, but I don't know. I think it's just too many negatives to stay on the sidelines. If he goes out there, or he waits, and let's say the UFC says, okay, well, you can have the next title shot because all your opponents are falling out, and you looked good against Jeremy Stephens. You got the crazy knockout against Chan Sung Jung. Maybe the UFC gives it to him, but maybe he goes in there, and now he's been off 2 years, because at bare minimum, at the absolute earliest he could fight for the title would be the end of the year. Probably not till early next year, depending on how the Volkanovski Brian Ortega fight goes. So what's he going to sit out for over 2 years, then go into a championship fight? I don't know if that makes a lot of sense for him at all. And it's just crazy to me that a guy can just be out for so long. And I know not all the reasons the fights have got canceled has been his. And I'm still sad that we never got to see Yair versus Zabit. But at this point, it's annoying. How many times has it been scheduled? Like 3-4 times, something like that. It's the Khabib Tony Ferguson of the featherweight division. But I think Giga Chikadze versus Yair Rodriguez would be an amazing fight. Let me know in the comments, guys, if that's a fight you guys would want to see. I think the answer is going to be a consensus yes. Or would you rather Yair, no matter how long it takes, would you rather him just wait and fight Max Holloway? Because I love both fights, but I just prefer to, see Yair stay active or get active. Obviously he hasn't been active. Rather than just, who knows, it's so unknown. And then what if he gets scheduled with Max again and then it falls out again for whatever reason? Or what if if he's healthy, just fight on July 17th. I hope that happens. It would answer a lot of questions about both guys. And one last thing I wanted to mention, how far have we come since Yair Rodriguez got brutalized by Frankie Edgar? We come a long way. And it's only been 3 fights for Yair. And, luckily none of those guys in that top, 3 space are probably going to take him down, other than maybe Volkanovski. But you know, he's come a long way since that Frankie Edgar fight, as far as people kind of forgetting, you know, the level of domination that Frankie Edgar was able to put on Yair Rodriguez. So anyway, please, if you haven't already, like the video, make sure you're subscribed, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Max Holloway pulled out from the fight against Yair Rodriguez due to injury. UFC called me to replace him, and of course I agreed, and now we're waiting for Yair. This guy didn't fight for 20 or 21 months. Guess what I was doing this time? I was fighting, and fighting. I fought 6 times, and I beat all my opponents. This guy started to play game. It's been a few days. I have not heard back. Hopefully he's gonna show up 17 July, but I heard that he's a little bit of pussy. He did not show up 4 times with a beat, and I heard he did everything to pull out from this fight. I don't think the guy who's scared should be in UFC, but hopefully now he's gonna meet me in front, face to face, and we're gonna talk. Can't wait.